Although 3ds Max is a popular choice when it comes to asset creation for both games and visualization work in Unreal, it is good for us to see that most DCC applications today can do the work that we need. And so in this chapter, we will look at two popular choices. Firstly, Houdini 16.5 from Side Effects Software, and also the open source option Blender, specifically version 2.79. Starting with Houdini then, let's make our UI here a little more UV mapping friendly by splitting the viewport vertically, which we do with our mouse cursor in the viewport by pressing the Ctrl+4 keyboard combo. And then, if needed, with our cursor over the left-hand view, let's also press the 5 key in order to switch that over to a UV view, inside of which we can use the scroll wheel to frame things up. After making sure that our cursor is inside the node view, let's press the Tab key to access our node list, and then start to type UV project into the search, adding a node of the same name when it appears. After connecting things up, so the output of our file node to the input of our project node, we can then click the last of the buttons on the node, which is the display flag, in order to see the end results. To make sure that we can see the different projection types available, again with our cursor over the 3D view, let's press the Enter key to fully engage the tool and show the projection axis gizmo in the viewport. Now don't worry if nothing appears to change, as the gizmo may just be a little small. If we look beneath the chair though, we should see the projection axis gizmo sitting there. Let's come to the Initialize tab on the node next, where we can tell Houdini to adjust the transforms of the project gizmo to match that of the object, meaning we don't need to change the gizmo's position, orientation or scale in order to get it to fit and project properly. To see what I mean by this, let's, from the projection dropdown, make sure that the projection type is set to cylindrical, and then click the Initialize button, which fits our UV projection gizmo to the mesh. Very helpful indeed. Notice as well that as we click through the different projection types here, that the projection as represented by the gizmo changes to show how the UVs are being projected onto our mesh. Now, although this unwrap type may be good for simple shapes, you can see that it is not really working for the more complex curves of our chair. And so let's take a look at another helpful mapping node. Inside the geometry graph, let's click the output of our UV project node, press the Tab key and type UV inside the search box, and then click to add or press Enter to add the UV unwrap node. After which we can make sure that its display flag is active, and what we should see now is our UV unwrap data populating the UV view. Now if needed, with the cursor over in the 3D view, let's press the spacebar and F key to frame up on our mesh, because at this moment in time, we can see that the unwrap node has split our mesh UVs into lots of small clusters that are quite spaced out. If we set the spacing to 0.2, which either adds or reduces the padding between the UV clusters or islands, we see everything move much closer together, filling the 0 to 1 space in a more efficient manner. Now having some padding is important of course, because it helps stop texture maps assigned to one cluster spilling over or bleeding onto another, which as discussed earlier helps our light maps as well as our standard texture maps. Now the planes drop-down, if we click to select it, can be used to either add or subtract from the number of projection planes being used in the UV process. Setting this to 4 gives us a pyramid rather than a cube shape for mapping, although on geometry such as ours this produces overlapping UVs, and so the texture data will appear squashed, stretched, or will even repeat on multiple areas of our model. Now we could set the drop down here to use a higher value if we wanted, but it is good to keep in mind that using a higher setting, such as 8, does create more seams in the UVs than is really necessary. The simple box or cube mapping used by setting the plane value to 6 can give us a quick head start to unwrapping simple objects inside Houdini. We could even get away with using it on this model if the user was never going to get close up and personal to it. Thankfully though, we do have more tools available that can help with the unwrapping of complex shapes in Houdini, one of which we will look at in our next video.